Welcome to another twisted episode of Outcast, where even bowling nights are unenjoyable. This week's edition left fans into emotional human pretzels. It had murder, prison interrogations, and creepy break-ins. I'm Brian Mitchell, and this is Outcast Panel to Screen, Episode 3. Let's start off with the holiest of shit moments with our new bowling alley friends, Blake, Luke, Teresa, and this girl. This scene was only done on screen, where we got a taste of Blake's rude behavior when he called this girl lonely and fat. Worst bowling buddy ever. We also get some background on Blake and Luke, who were police partners together. Later, in both the comic and show, Blake and Teresa are left alone at her house while her husband Luke runs errands. In the comics, Luke has blonder hair and has no beard. Blake acts sick, tries to seduce Teresa, and gruesomely bites her lips. The show, however, extends the scene and we see Blake violently slam Teresa around the kitchen. She retaliates with a hot kettle hit to the head, but he ultimately goes all the way and kills her. That's when the show and comic meet back up, with Luke arriving too late to discover his dead wife and a not-so-somber Blake covered in her blood. Let's shift to Donnie, a guy who clearly has a history with Megan. In the comics, Kyle recognizes him in front of a grocery store and welcomes him back by punching him in the face. Mark tries to break it up, but when he realizes it's Donnie, he also punches him in the face. This guy Donnie must really suck. Unlike the show, Megan's left in the dark about Donnie even being in town until Mark tells her later. The script is flipped in the show, however, where Megan realizes he's in town before anyone else, becomes super paranoid, and sneaks into his hotel room thanks to the worst hotel desk lady of all time. Megan does end up discovering that he's been Facebook stalking her and is completely freaked out.
Oh my god.
Let's get into the meat of the episode, the attempted exorcism of Blake Morrow. In the comics, Luke pays Kyle a visit and asks if he could unofficially take a look at his friend Blake, since he had success with Joshua. In the show, the Reverend's the one who takes Kyle to the prison. At the prison, we see a less bloody Blake, who in the comics has darker hair, a white outfit, and is being held in a small interrogation room. On the show, he's wearing an orange outfit, has long blonde hair, and is being held in a large off-the-books factory space.
It shakes, but, it's awkward.
In the comics and show, Blake vilely recalls killing Luke's wife, leading Luke to punch him in the face. Not a great day for faces. And asks what the F happened to his friend. What the F indeed, Luke? In both instances, a flabbergasted Luke is forced to leave because of his slight bias against the guy that turned his wife into a human pretzel. The comics and show also intertwine with Kyle, Blake, and the Reverend's interactions. A minor difference. Kyle asks Blake if he knows him.
Do you know me?
While in the comics, Blake asks Kyle, "Do I know you?" Regardless, in both instances, the Reverend decides Blake's not crazy and not possessed, and tries to leave. Luke begs them to stay, and they do. In both the comic and show, the Reverend does his best to exorcise the demons out of Blake, but nothing happens. This leads Kyle to touch him, causing an instant reaction. In both cases, Blake looks at Kyle horrified and says,
You. Outcast.
Another scene the show had that the comics didn't was when Blake turned the tables by breaking out of the cuffs and holding the Reverend to crucifix point, leading to a final showdown between Kyle and Blake. Kyle beats him and his blood drips into Blake's mouth, causing icky black goo to spurt out. In the comic, it was a black cloud. Both instances has Blake asking for more. At this point in the comic, Kyle and the Reverend are interrupted by another police officer who breaks up the madness and makes them leave. In the show, they leave after deciding there's nothing more they can do for him. The show also added a scene where Luke confronts Blake that night and tries to suffocate him while he's restrained. Luke almost succeeds, but at the last second pulls his hands away. Blake is not impressed and he backed out.
Pussy.
Bonus. In the show, Mark goes all CSI Rome on the trailer in the woods and almost gets eaten by a wolf, but makes it out alive. Additionally, the Reverend has his own inner demons with his son, whose picture he keeps losing. The comic and the show both give hints of the man in the hat lurking around town. Finally, Megan experiences a flashback of Donnie. Yikes. Well, that's it for us. Tune in next week. Does Donnie catch Megan creeping on his creeping? Will Mark get to the bottom of the trailer investigation? And did the man in the hat also use Kyle's toothbrush? I'm Brian Mitchell, and this has been Outcast Panel to Screen, Episode 3.